Hey everyone, thanks for joining in Capitalism today. Thank you for looking at this channel and looking at the videos and supporting this channel in any way that you can. I hope you'll visit the website dismantlecapitalismglobally.com, dismantlecapitalismglobally.com, and lend a voice to this channel and to this coalition. The goal is to bring more visibility, more awareness, more content to capitalism. Feel like so many people are waking up and realizing what capitalism is all about, and I think the pandemic had a lot to do with that. But we need to continue with that momentum. That we need to look at the system. We need to look at its methodology. We need to look at its actions. And I hope you'll visit the website, dismantlecapitalismglobally.com. Make sure you lend a voice, whether you want to write an article, whether you want to present, lend your perspective about capitalism. I'm always open to receiving suggestions or recommendations, as well as participation. This is a global initiative and one that I am passionate about, and I join in the movement of many more people who want to see a change in capitalism, especially in a new year about to reach, right? 2022 is about to come, and here we are still in parts of the world. There are slums, there are people who don't have access to healthcare, to water, there's a lot of land disputes, house disputes, there's just business disputes. I mean, it's just capitalism has so many multidimensional problems. It's always fascinating, probably disappointing to hear people say that it is a working system, that it is still one that is viable and one that should be the system of all systems. So I want to talk about that today, how most people, specifically the supporters of capitalism, who vouch for it, who want it to stay in place, and they're not seeing the entire picture of everything that it's doing. So I want to focus on what people say about capitalism. There are the two sides, of course, the anti-capitalists like me who look at the history and the realities of people under capitalism, whereas there are those who are just the capitalists and they just think profits and they just think in a tunnel visional way. And, we're always bumping heads, of course, because we want our viewpoints to be heard. Nevertheless, the anti-capitalist continues to believe that capitalism is the best system that the world has ever seen. Therefore, it must be the one that we keep. But that is not the case. Capitalism is not the best system. When you think of socialism and communism, those have been alternatives to capitalism. But the capitalists from the North, Europe and the United States, have always found ways to destroy the ideas of socialism and communism. And I don't have to go into the details of, the wars in Vietnam and all of that took place because of communists wanting to, be implemented. And of course, with Iran and Cuba and their socialist stance, and how the United States is continuously dismantling their ideas or their infrastructure because their views are different, their economic views different. They don't want that imperialistic, capitalistic model in their countries. They want something different. And the reason that they act this way is because they see the capitalist mindset in the North, and they see how it is not the best model. We see it. We live in the North. I live in the North in the United States, and of course, I'm experiencing it, experiencing the setbacks of it, and I know that I speak for a lot of people when I say that too. Like we are tired. We are tired of the work life and the continuous bills, and it's never ending, and we are always at work, and there's always that struggle, that financial struggle that leads to other problems, of course. So, you always have to question, to what extent is this system working and at whose expense? And that's when the more layers of reasoning and examination comes in. And, that's where you get more evidence and more history. But the capitalist does not really think of all that. They're not interested in all of that history and the evidence, they are just set in their minds that this is the system, it is the best system. So other people say that, well, capitalism is working. It's working because they see people working. Again, to what extent, right? People have jobs, yeah, but are those jobs helping them to pay rent, to have a life outside of work, to not be at work all day, to not have to go to work every day of the week? Is that job allowing them to have that? And the answer is no, because capitalism confines you to work. The boss wants you at work. They don't want you to have a life. They don't care about your life. You have dreams. There are other things that you want to do, but the bills are due, and you have to pay those bills because nobody wants to be on the streets, right? So again, it's all of that, all of those multi-dimensional factors one has to consider when they're trying to discuss the system of capitalism. Many times you'll see that the capitalists just want to talk from the angle of opinions and perception versus reality. Perception and reality, as you know, are completely different categories. What you perceive may not be real. And the capitalist definitely doesn't see things in realism. They don't see the damage, the environmental damage, the ruination of people's lives because they're constantly being in debt. They're constantly trying to pay for something that is always on the market to be bought. Everything, as you know, is on the market. Healthcare, education, necessities, all of those things are on the market. They are not free. And that puts an extra burden on us, the working class people, because we always have to work. We have to work to feed those to get those resources, I should say. So, people also say that, well, the reason why people are poor is because they have made a conscious decision to be that they're lazy, that they're not educated. And that one always beats me to the core, because it's like, I like to uphold human beings to very high standards. And I just refuse to believe that a human being would make a conscious choice to be in poverty, to live in a slum, to not have enough food and not have shelter and not have clothing. I would never get to that mindset. And I don't know how people even think that way. It really is a very depressing eugenics kind of mindset, and one that they ignore the reality of the system, the systemic ideas of the system. One that is punishing people. It's more of a penal system, right? Whereas it's not acknowledging the work that they're putting in. Somebody might work within a month's time, but they may still not have enough for rent and for car and for food and commuting and all of that requires of our daily lives. And capitalism doesn't say, oh, yes, we'll let you pass. The landlord is not going to say, yeah, we'll let you pass. Or the car dealership is not going to say, yeah, we'll let you go this month. It doesn't work like that. They are on you. The payer-payee model is one that is entrenched in the system of capitalism, and one that is constantly putting people and their families in very constricted kind of restrictive flow, whereas they always have to feed the landlord. They always have to feed the car dealer. The working class person is on a constant cycle of making sure that other people are rich, those who are business owners and so forth. So people do say that people make conscious decisions to be poor, and that is the very wrong way to ever look at a human being, to blame them for not having access to resources, or not having a house, or not having food. It is a very nasty conclusion, and one that none of us should ever actually get comfortable with. Because it's the wrong kind of conclusion to come to. So those are just some of the things that people say. Can't think of any more at this point, but for the most part, it's it's surrounds livelihood. It's about jobs. Some people. Oh, I'm thinking of one now. Some people say, "Well, just get a job and everything will be okay." That's more of a Republican mindset. If you live in the U.S., that's the way the Republicans think, or conservatives. They think that a job is going to cure everything, or that it will eliminate the problems. It does not. There are people who work and cannot afford rent and cannot afford electricity and gas, and I mean it's all of that. I don't have to go into the statistics because I already know you can conceptualize all of that. You can align with it. You understand that because as working class people, we do have that connection, whereas we are constantly working and we are not being able to afford the things that we really want to do. Take a vacation, not have to be at work all day, not have to be at work every day. So, it having a job, having a 9 to 5 job doesn't solve problems in the home. It certainly does not solve society's problems. It hasn't. I mean, if it were a problem solving model, then we would not see people protesting for fair wages and fair conditions, and we would not be seeing people, losing their homes because they miss payments and so forth. All of those things. It's not. It's not a system that is sturdy. It's not a system that is helping people to have excuse me, to have a strong, positive, solid livelihood. It is in constant fluctuation. It's like the stock market. It's like a risk. You can work your A off and be able to get a home and have a car, and you think that you're good, you're experiencing and enjoying the greener pastures, and something goes wrong in your life, and next thing you know, debt. It's your property taxes, it's your mortgage that is not being paid, and the only way we are able to pay for those things is through work, some kind of work, even though it's a 9 to 5 or an independent work, whatever it is. You have to generate the money because capitalism is about money. It's about profit. You need to make it to give it to the car dealer and to the landlord and to the student loan lenders. Its model is just money. It's a currency. That's what it favors. It does not care about social unrest. It does not care if there's a war in the middle of the United States. It does not care if you're mentally ill. Capitalism does not care if you're physically sick. You are still confined to pay somebody, even in those very uncomfortable very nasty experiences that we see on a daily, or we experience on a daily. Capitalism says you still have to pay whomever, regardless of everything that is happening. We saw that in the pandemic. How people were still having to work, even though there was this virus. We were still trying to figure out what it was all about. You still had people had to report to work at the grocery stores, at the hospitals. Life still had to go on, even in the pandemic, and even though we were so unsure about it and everything that it was doing. So, I just want you to get in the mindset of not allowing perception to be your final say or your final understanding about capitalism, but rather to look at the evidence, listen to the stories of people, let them tell you stories about their lives under capitalism. I mean, I'm always confused that even though those who are well off can also experience setbacks, financial setbacks. But don't ever let of the false sense of security that capitalism gives to those who are well off and those who are rich. Don't let that saturate your mind to the point where you cannot see beyond its illusions and its falsehood. So as always, thank you for joining. Visit the website dismantlecapitalismglobally.com. Thank you.